Welcome to the Movie Business Podcast, picking up where Movie Business Book left off. I'm Jason Squire, hosting a wide range of industry talent and executives to answer fundamental questions about the business today. Here we go. And today we're exploring the secrets of animation with Jeffrey KORCHEK, Executive Vice President of Business Affairs and Strategy for Sony Pictures Animation, overseeing all business and legal affairs for features, TV series, and home entertainment. Career highlights include Vice President of Licensing, Acquisitions, and Content Business Affairs for Mattel, and Executive Vice President at Universal Pictures in charge of business and legal affairs. Welcome, Jeffrey.
Thank you so much for having me, Jason, and thank you for that introduction. I don't think my parents were ever that nice.
So Jeffrey, let's just dive in and ask first, sir, what are the secrets of animation?
Oh my gosh. So this is just you and me talking, right?
That's right.
Right. Okay. Because then I feel like I can tell you the secrets. Overall, it's a great business, and from a business perspective, the secret is that it's a family-driven business that gets people out of the house and into theaters. And so having had an absence of that for the past 2 years, that's of fundamental importance. The production process is dramatically different from live action, so it's even more intensely collaborative, and in the way that animated features are done, series are different. The process allows you to make and remake the movie as you go along and make it better and fix things. Sometimes in animation, we say that we are making the plane as it's flying. And then just for want of a better word, emotionally, it's a great business because it's not as star-driven as live action. So movies don't happen just because somebody named Tom says yes. They happen because studios want to make them. There's a demand from the audience, and as a result of being less star-driven, it's a nicer environment to work in. Animation is really nice, and having spent the beginning of my career in live action, which of course is very star-driven, there can often be a lot of stress, less so in animation. But in all respects, live action, animation, they're people businesses, and that's what makes them so interesting.
So let's turn to defining business affairs. I mean, one of the things that comes to mind is in animation, less contact with agents, less deal making, but can you define business affairs, please?
It's negotiation, it's problem solving. It covers almost anything that isn't production or creative. And also it's a good source of blame sometimes when things go wrong. Very often things do go wrong in the business. My job is primarily negotiating deals for talent with agents and attorneys, and occasionally managers get involved on the sidelines. As you know, they're not allowed to negotiate agreements. And I also get involved in securing outside financing when we need need that for our movies and getting other rights. So it covers a wide range of activities, and it's a relatively small group of people that I deal with, more so in animation, because the representation tends to be more limited than in live action. And so I spend a lot of time negotiating and talking about money and credit. But in animation, there's fewer moving pieces than there are in live action. So the deals have fewer components, especially on the voice talent side. The back ends are different, their box office bonuses. So less time is generally spent on the deals, and majority of the artists who are working on our animated movies are all studio employees. So we'll bring in writers, directors, producers, and then the voice talent. But it's we don't do as many deals on animated movies as are required for live action movies.
So let's turn to another subject. What is your advice for someone wanting a career in animation?
So on the artist side, going to a school like CalArts, Otis, Parsons, where traditionally animators are trained. CalArts, as you know, was founded by Walt Disney and is really a pipeline into animation studios. On the creative side, I think it's the same way that people get into the creative side on live action, which is they may work on somebody's desk in a studio. They work as a story analyst. They rise up. It's studios, as you know, are still very hierarchical. Start at the bottom, work your way up generally. And on the business side, generally people come from the live action side versus starting in animation. And I think that's a benefit because the experience allows you to have training in a variety of different deals, but also appreciate the difference between live action and animation and help explain that, as many people who work in live action, especially on the voice talent side or the writing side and producing, when they come over into animation and the representatives are making deals, they sometimes don't fully appreciate the difference. And so recently, for example, on a producer deal, the representative asked for a trailer for their client. And I had to explain that we don't really travel in animation. There aren't locations, so we don't have trailers. But I almost wanted to give them one just because nobody had ever asked. And so I thought it would be great to do.
So, Mr. Tact, I mean, that's a very important part of the business. Now, there is so much online. Animators posting so much material, a whole range of success. And because there is so much posting of animation, is that also a source of talent?
Occasionally, but more often than not, it's people coming from schools and getting entry-level jobs in animation studios and working their way up to department heads.
So it sounds like people need to be vetted one way or another, and there are time-honored levels in order to achieve that.
I think by and large, yes, but of course, any creative business is always open to people who have natural talent and are often self-taught. But it's more rare.
Now, can we turn the conversation to a wider subject of the entertainment business overall? What's your prognosis? It's such a dicey time of transition and change. What do you think's going to happen?
I think the past 2 years have been head exploding and have changed the business forever. So we, of course, have gone from a situation where people were generally in the habit of going to movies, especially in the animation, and taking their families regularly to theaters, to 2+ years of not being able to go to theaters, and now emerging into predominantly superhero action movies and horror, with comedies, adult dramas struggling, and then of course an explosion of production for streaming platforms and the emergence of HBO, Paramount, Disney Plus, the Peacock, challenging Netflix. Just as an aside, Jason, you may want to add a plus after your name. It seems to be quite popular right now.
Well, I'm going to have to do that. This is all branding, you see.
It's all branding, and so of course, we've seen an explosion of content and production, and an overwhelming amount of content on streaming services. And then the past 2 years also reinforced, or rather reaffirmed, that people like watching content at home, and especially certain types of content. And having gotten used to that, that's going to continue. I don't see the extreme level of investment in content continuing. It's just too overwhelming. I mean, I don't believe that Netflix, for example, can continue spending $17 billion a year with other platforms competing against that. And I also think it's impossible on a quality level to produce that much content and have it all be at a high level. A lot of commentators are saying, and I agree with this, that there will be future consolidation among platforms, and that bundling will return in the same way that cable systems bundled different channels. And what we're also starting to see now is more customer churn as subscribers go in and out of services. A while ago, Netflix's churn rate for new subscribers used to be 2%. In other words, 2% of new subscribers would cancel within a month. Now I believe it's up to 20%. And so that churn, of course, creates additional costs for platforms. So I think that's all going to result in platforms consolidating, maybe some of them going out of business. I think Netflix also has a challenge in that it's really more of a single-purpose entity versus a company like Comcast, Disney, Paramount, that have different ways of
Wow.
all at the same time.
You have an extraordinary couple of years up ahead. Who knows the shape of things to come? But the animation business is so satisfying because it has been so successful. Thank you so much, Jeffrey KORCHEK, for taking time to chat about the business aspects of animation on the Movie Business Podcast. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for inviting me to join.